Hello, I'm Jesse Weiss. I'm the founder and executive director of GEO. And this session is Oh, the Places You'll Go, Teacher Travel, and the Globally Competent Classroom. First, we want to thank our sponsors and supporters of this conference. You can see them up there. Maisie, do you want to lead this one?
Yeah, if everybody would like to go to the tools right on to the left of the map, go down to the second one, the icon of the sun, and click on it and let us know where you are from in the world on the map, and then write in the chat box where you're from, what time it is where you are, what the weather's like, any information you want us to know about you.
So it looks like we've got Connecticut, Philadelphia, we've got Michigan, we've got Nepal, we've got Israel, and Mario's coming from Illinois. Wonderful. So our presentation is called Oh, the Places You'll Go, Teacher Travel, and the Globally Competent Classroom. So I'll begin with explaining what GEO is. Global Exploration for Educators Organization, GEO, is a 501c3 nonprofit organization created to help and encourage educators to travel abroad. Why the need for GEO? Americans need to understand the world better. I think that I'm obviously preaching to the choir here at a global education conference, but that's our whole purpose. I was traveling abroad a lot when I was in my 20s, and I wasn't very happy with how the United States was acting on the international stage, and I felt that part of that was because of us being a bit ignorant of the world around us, and so that's why I started GEO. Also, I wanted to let everybody know, not everybody in our slides are a bit narrow, narrower than they should be when they were sent over into this format. So not everybody is a skinny supermodel, as they might appear in this presentation. Here is a quick graph that shows the ignorance of Americans when it comes to geography. Percentage of Americans ages 18 to 24 who can't find these locations on a map. This was in 2006 when we had 2 active wars going on in Afghanistan and Iraq. And you can see 75% of Americans couldn't find Israel on a map, or Iran. Saudi Arabia only 63%. Afghanistan was 88%. Iraq, 63% of Americans could not find Iraq on a map, and even 50% of Americans couldn't find the state of New York on a map. If anybody happens to have a more updated figure from a more recent study, this was the National Geographic Roper study from 2006, please do write it in the chat, because I would love to update this slide on this in the presentation. I believe that global understanding begins with direct contact with other people and places, yet Americans all too often lack either the time, money, or desire to travel. And that's why we focus on teachers. Teachers happen to have the time, and if a trip is affordable, the money as well. Teachers have contact with thousands of students, and by sharing their travel experiences, they can put the world in context and influence the next generation of Americans to be more interested, understanding, and empathetic towards global issues. I founded GEO in 2007. As I said before, I just felt that travel for me was the catalyst that made me interested in trying to make the world a better place. And I thought, well, if I can give more people that experience, we could have more people taking an interest in making the world a better place, for a lack of better words. In 2011, We partnered with G Adventures, which is the world's largest tour operator, and they specialize in small group travel. G Adventures mixes fun and culture with social responsibility and environmental sensitivity. In 2016, we will be running 33 programs to 37 countries for over 350 teachers. Over 1,300 teachers have already participated in our programs, and roughly 100,000 students have been educated with our curriculum. So what is a GEO trip? They're 1 to 3 weeks long. They're mostly during the summer. They're small groups. So by small groups, I mean anywhere from 6 to 16 people. We typically visit 1 to 3 schools on each of our programs. The school visits are about a half an hour to an hour long. You're not there to teach. You're there to learn about the education system and just have the experience of being in a school in a different country. Often schools are closed, so we don't necessarily guarantee school visits on each of the programs. Sorry, Govinda, our programs are open for everybody. I'm just seeing in your comment. The programs are open for anybody from any country. So we have Canadians who've traveled with us and Spanish people who've traveled with us. It's just our focus is on Americans. 95% of our participants are Americans. And as we get larger, we're going to focus more on people from other countries. Going back to the slide, the programs are inexpensive, so our programs are anywhere from 5 to 15% less expensive than how our tour operator, than the prices that our tour operator offers, and our tour operator already has some of the lowest prices in the industry. So you're getting a trip that's slightly subsidized. The trips are very adventurous, so this isn't lying on the beach at a 5-star hotel. We tend to use 3-star accommodation, so relatively basic accommodation, but comfortable and clean. And we tend to have things like hiking and homestays and using local transportation. We do have a lot of cultural interaction. I'm just going to have a glass of water. We do have a lot of cultural interaction, such as those homestays, so you get to meet families and have that experience of directly interacting with people. And we work with, again, with a top-notch tour operator. They send over 100,000 people abroad each year. We send, again, probably about 350 this year. So they've run, the trips that we run, they've run them over and over and over again. And so they've worked out all of the kinks. So you get a very smooth running trip, even though we're a relatively small organization. These are the programs that we're going to be running in 2016. The red pins are single country programs. The green pins are multi-country programs. So we've got Jamaica. We're probably going to be adding on Cuba. That's a program that we're working on right now, and I'm hoping that it'll be ready soon, a Cuba program that's legal for Americans to travel on. We've got Costa Rica, the Galapagos Islands. We've got the Peruvian Amazon. We've got the Peruvian Andes. We have a Southern Africa program that starts at in Livingston by Victoria Falls and then goes through Botswana and Namibia and ends in Cape Town in South Africa. We have a Morocco program. We have a Portugal and Spain program. We have a Moorish Spain program that we're running with the University of Texas at Austin. We've got an Ireland program. Maybe I should be putting these things on here to show you where I'm pointing at. We have an Iceland program. We have an Eastern Europe program that goes through several countries in Eastern Europe. We have a Western Balkans program. We have an Italy program, a Greece program, a Turkey program, a Israel program, an Uzbekistan program, a Sri Lanka program, a Southern India program, an India and Nepal program. We've got a Myanmar program. We have a program that goes from Bangkok to Hanoi that focuses on Laos. And we've got a Vietnam-Cambodia program that goes all throughout Vietnam, Cambodia, and ends in Bangkok. So this way, if you wanted to see a lot of Southeast Asia in 1 month, you can go both of those programs back to back. We have a Bali and Lombok program, and we also have a 3-week program in China. And yes, you can go on all of them. Why travel with GEO? Again, our prices are discounted, so they're less expensive than if you were to go with a regular tour operator. Our programs, it makes it a little easier for you to get grants because you're traveling on with an educational nonprofit. It makes it so it's easier to apply for grants. We find about 20 to 30% of our participants are either traveling for free with us because they've gotten their school to fund it, or they've gotten a grant, or they're at least getting a subsidy. Humanitarian rate airfare, we get humanitarian rate airfares. We've applied to be able to provide these discounted flights for our participants. You can usually save about 1/3 off of your flights by getting humanitarian rate airfare. So we're happy to help you get those rates. You get to travel with your educational peers. I think that's one of the best parts about our trip, is getting to travel with other teachers from mostly around the United States, but also from teachers from other countries as well. This way you can share ideas. Everybody's intellectually curious. Another great aspect of our programs is exceptional customer service. That's me. I provide all of the customer service. I answer my phone 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week, every single day of the year. So if you have a question about anything, I will answer your questions over the phone personally or through email. You get a professional development certificate when you travel with our programs. That's free. And then we also have credit through the University of Pacific. These are CPU credits, so these are good for your salary points. It varies from state to state, so I don't want to make any generalizations about that, but we have that credit as well. Our programs are led by expert guides, so these are 90% of the time they are native to the country that you're going to be traveling in. And these are people who are trained as tour leaders and have a deep knowledge of the history and the culture of the country. And then we also provide university lecturers on several of our programs. When we partner with the university, they send along an expert who provides additional lectures on certain subject matters that they're experts in. Our education program. We educate participants about the destinations they travel to through a book club, through educational resources, and through our incredible tour leaders. So before the trip, we have a Pinterest board for each of our trips. And we also have a suggested reading list for each of our trips. And then during the trip, you're going to be learning through your tour leader. Participants are asked to create one lesson plan to incorporate their travel experience into their teaching. This can be something simple like, I'm a math teacher, and so instead of saying the train's going to be going from Chicago to New York, how long does it take to get there, that train can now be going from Delhi to Mumbai. We have on our website, we have a list of curriculum that teachers have created over the years that you can use as examples and inspiration. During the program, we have a curriculum discussion group where all of the teachers explain how they want to share this with their students, and then they can exchange ideas. And then GEO provides teachers with Google Earth presentations that trace their route and provide context for their students. So it's a fully scripted Google Earth presentation that we give to each of our participants after they return to their classrooms. So instead of having to create your own slideshow explaining what you did over summer break, we give you an excellent presentation that's interactive that your students will really enjoy. Alternative travel opportunities. This slide got a little messed up when I brought it into Blackboard Collaborate, so please forgive me for that. We fill a niche. So when I started GEO, I looked at what travel programs were serving teachers, and I found that there was a gap in that there were free programs, but they had long application processes, and that they were only accepting something like 1 in 5, 1 in 10 applicants. So I wanted to create something where we didn't have to say no to anybody. So we have a program where we break even, where we're able to give a discounted rate to teachers, but it's not free. And because it's not free, we can take lots and lots of teachers, and we don't have to say no to anybody. So you can be a math teacher and travel with us. You can be a kindergarten teacher and travel with us. You don't just have to be a social studies teacher. And so that was one of our focuses, is trying to make a program that's as open as possible, and that is that we can expand as much as possible. But that said, there are great programs that are out there that offer free travel programs or greatly subsidized travel programs, and I wanted to highlight a few of those. One of those is the Transatlantic Outreach Program, better known as TOP. TOP sends social studies educators to Germany every summer on all-expense paid study tours. The website is there, www.goethe.de/TOP. It's a terrific organization. Fund for Teachers. They offer travel grants for pre-K through 12 teachers, and they happen to be usable on GEO trips. We usually get about a dozen or so teachers each year who get Fund for Teachers grants to travel with us. We've got a great relationship with them. And if you want to travel on a Fund for Teachers grant, please let me know, and I will send you our advice on applying for the FFT grant. We have had a lot of teachers get the grant before, and we've written a letter that explains some tips for presenting GEO as your travel partner for your FFT grant. The Earthwatch Institute. You would get to spend a week conducting research with scientists. They give out 50 grants per year, and you can find those at that URL there. It's a really great experience getting to work with scientists in the field, and it's wonderful that they provide teacher travel grants for that. IREX Teachers for Global Classrooms Project, also known as the TGC program. Participants are selected through a national open competition for travel programs to various countries. This is funded by the U.S. government, so you can find out more at irex.org/TGC. The Kazai Koho Fellowship Program. This is a scholarship to travel to Japan to learn firsthand about contemporary Japanese society. Some of these programs, I feel like the funding goes in and out, so I'm not sure if each of these programs is available each year. So you want to go to their websites to find out more of those. The Ecology Project International, EPI, is a subsidized travel program where teachers participate in conservation projects. And again, you've got the URL right there, ecologyproject.org/promo/fellowship. So why you should travel? It's for recharging your teaching battery. It's for expanding your students' perceptions of what is possible. It's for becoming a better global citizen yourself, and it's fun. I'm going to go into some quick case studies about some of the teachers that have traveled with us, and then we can do Q&A. Barbara McCrary is a teacher from Oklahoma. She's an elementary school librarian. She's traveled with GEO on 6 programs. She creates suitcases for each of her trips. So when she goes on one of our trips, she collects all of these items. She collects school uniforms and toys and books and coloring books and all sorts of different artifacts while she's in the country, usually cheap things. And then she gets an old suitcase from Goodwill, and then she puts those items in that suitcase. And she has several of these suitcases from all the different trips she's taken. Joy, I'm just going to ask one of your quick questions, answer your question here. Yes, teachers, librarians. I'm actually, Joy, I'm actually explaining right now about one of our librarian who travels with us each year, who's traveled on 6 of our programs. And she brings the experience back into her classroom. So yes, our programs are open to anybody who works in education. And she's twice received full funding through grants. So she's gotten the full Fund for Teachers grant twice to travel with us. And this is a quote from Barbara. It's a little long one, but it's a really great one, so I wanted to read it. My travels are an integral part of my teaching. I have a globe sitting beside my chair in the library, and I start virtually every lesson by spinning it to focus on a specific spot in the world. The spot might be the home of a featured author or the location of a story we are going to read. My students love the fact that I've been to so many of those places. I have a small trunk sitting on the other side of my chair, and in it I often place artifacts from my travels. I've made a PowerPoint point for every trip, and students love to follow my adventures through my Where in the World is Mrs. McCrary. I make them figure it out using geographic coordinates, and then we take a virtual field trip. I have the great blessing of being able to teach the same students all the way from pre-K through 5th grade, and I'm constantly amazed when they mention something from a lesson taught several years ago about a specific country. They also ask where I'm going to next, and then tell me where they have traveled. Sometimes it's only to the local zoo, but they are getting the idea. I think that travel makes you not only a better teacher, but also a more interesting person, and certainly a better global citizen. My view of the world changes as I become better acquainted with it. Flooding in Peru becomes personal when you've visited the ruined village. Pollution in China is very real when you've breathed it. The political unrest in Russia takes on a new meaning when you've shared pine nuts and educational concerns with Russian teachers. Travel, both domestic and international, has added a dimension to my life that I can't imagine living without. Michael Baldwin. This is a teacher that had never left the country before. He's a high school social studies teacher in South Carolina. And most of his students have never left South Carolina. On his first trip, he went to Tunisia, and I actually happened to travel with Michael on that trip. And since he traveled with us to Panama and to Southern Africa. So this is somebody who had never left his country before, and he went on a trip with us. This is a quote from Michael. With all my trips with Geo, each has impacted my life in its own special way. I will talk about these trips all year in my classes. For so many of my students, my descriptions of my travels will be the only exposure they will have to other countries and other ways of life. Many students don't watch the news, and many will never leave this country. That is life for many of the students in my district. However, anytime I can reference one of my adventures, it introduces my students to the world and makes them begin to see what else is possible beyond the expected. Another case study, Bill is a high school art teacher in Texas. Bill has traveled with Geo on 6 programs, and he creates amazing ceramic murals with his students inspired by his travels. For example, this is his mural on the Trans-Mongolian Railroad trip that he took with us, where we go from St. Petersburg all the way to Beijing by rail. And Bill wrote, working at an inner city school, many of my students are not able to envision the world beyond their urban neighborhoods. My blogs and DVDs of my Geo travels allow me to introduce them to their global community with a world of opportunities, inspiring a sense of purpose and commitment to their education. Traveling with Geo revitalizes me and makes me a better teacher. It also makes me a better American by allowing me to better understand and appreciate my place in our global community. Our last case study is Ed Campos. Ed is a high school math and technology teacher in California. He's traveled with Geo on 4 programs, and he's currently one of our board members. He uses videos created while abroad to explain math concepts. I've always wanted to travel and see as much of the world as possible. I don't need to be catered to. All I need is a backpack, something to snack on, a camera, and things I've never seen before to stretch my vision of what the world is. You meet amazing people on Geo trips who have good hearts, compassion, and care about kids. It's easy to gel with 10 to 15 teachers. My trip to Costa Rica livened up my volcano lessons, and my visit to Machu Picchu reshaped my history curriculum and inspired a Peruvian cooking project for my students. I would definitely recommend one of these trips to recharge your teaching battery, get some new motivation, and find inspiration. It's wonderful to bring back that enthusiasm to the classroom and to refocus your students. Want to learn more? So I'm going to quickly take you to our website just so you can see what it looks like. The website is www.geo.org. This is our homepage. So you can see all of our programs here. It doesn't render quite perfectly here in Blackboard Collaborate, but if you look around that web page, you can see a number of our trips. For example, let's take a look at our Heart of the Silk Road program. You can see it's 1,139 days. Sorry, $1,139. And that program is 10 days. We're partnered with Berkeley on this, the University of California, Berkeley, their Middle East Center. They're sending Lydia Garza on that trip, and Lydia actually speaks fluent Uzbeki, so that should be an interesting thing. She hasn't been there for many years, but she learned through a State Department grant. And you can see this, there's a map for the trip, and you get to go all over the Silk Road. There's an itinerary, there's a detailed itinerary, there's a need-to-know section, there's optional activities, so all of the costs, so we try to make it so that you can see all the costs of the trip before signing up for it. And then we have an FAQ with detailed answers to all the questions that people have ever asked me about the trip. So, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to look through this sideboard, but Maisie, were there any questions that came up that I should be answering?
I don't think so. I think your answers everyone. I'm looking through. No, I think.
Okay, I'm looking through as well.
Okay, but if there are questions.
And I want to welcome all the people.
If there are questions,
sorry, go on.
You've all got microphone privileges, so you can use your microphone and ask questions.
Okay, Darcy, I'll start with your question. Are all these teachers trips with other teachers so they can collaborate? Yes, so Darcy, teachers from all around the country participate in our programs. So if you travel on one of our groups, it's going to be anywhere from 6 to 16 people typically, and they're going to be coming from all around the United States, although we do get teachers from outside of the United States as well who travel with us, and so you're going to be able to collaborate. We have a curriculum discussion group on each of our trips so that you can talk about how you want to share the experience with your students when you get back to your classrooms. And let me know if that answered your questions. Lucy, I have never heard of summer China travel and teaching. I will check that out after the session ends. That looks very interesting. Joy, are there any plans to expand to other places other than the locations listed? Don't know if this was already addressed, sorry. So we usually add on 3 or 4 new locations each year. We've got a lot right now, but if there's any place in particular you want to go, Joy, put it out in the chat, and I'll let you know if it's something that we're going to be adding anytime soon. And Lucy, and also, seriously, I wonder if we could collaborate on a trip for GEC members. Yes, I'd love to. We've run trips for the National Council for the Social Studies. We've run trips for Geographic Alliances. We run trips in collaboration with universities. We'd love to do something with GEC. I think that it's certainly a group that would love it, and we'll make something as inexpensive as possible. You're asked about funding. So GEO is a nonprofit. We don't specifically fund any of our teachers directly. We just provide the programs and make them as cheap as humanly possible. But Fund for Teachers does provide funding for our programs. So you can go to fundforteachers.org and find out more and apply for a grant from them. Also, I recommend trying your PTA, seeing if there's anything offered by your union. For example, a few unions offer local teaching grants. If you teach in a rural district, there are rural grants for teachers in rural areas. So you kind of have to do some research. But it's very scattered what different grants there are. Fund for Teachers is the only national grant there is. Joy, Japan and Korea. So we offered a Japan program 2 years ago, and we had 2 people sign up. So we didn't get enough people to run a group. It's just expensive, Japan. So you're looking at over $3,000 for typically 10 days, and that makes it a difficult proposition for a lot of teachers. Korea is a place we are considering running a trip to in the next few years. Does anybody else have any questions? There have been people who traveled with us from Kansas. I'll put the link in here, Fund for Teachers. Oh, yes, Malika Foundation. That's a great one as well. Are there any other further questions, or does anybody else have any other resources, such as the Malika Foundation, other teacher travel programs that I did not mention in this presentation, because we'd love to be able to add more. If you go on our website, we actually have under very useful information, we have other travel opportunities. And so this is our list of the other travel programs that are out there. And there's a few that I didn't mention in this presentation just because a lot of these they come and go. The ones that I mentioned are the ones that I know are still around. But there's more of them out there, and we list them here on our website under other opportunities. Does anybody have further questions? Feel free to speak over the microphone. You do have voice privileges.
Well, I'm going to be definitely checking out a few of your trips, and hopefully I might be going on one. Who knows? Does anybody else want to add something? It's been a great session. I've learned a lot. It's got me thinking that maybe I can travel.
Well, just to give, I can answer. I'll mention a couple of FA frequently asked questions that I get about GEO when people call us, just in case maybe these are questions that are on your mind. First of all, you do not teach on our programs. These are not, and you're not bringing students. I think that's the first confusion that people have is, oh, do I have to bring students? No, this is a program just for teachers. It's designed for teachers. It's not designed around students. We want you to bring the experience back to your students, but we know that there's plenty of places where you can travel for free with your students. That's not what we do. We focus just on the teachers. Lisa, your question. How large is your organization? How do you make connections with experts in other countries? So my organization is 2 people. It's me and my outreach director, and I just hired my outreach director a few months ago. So we're a very small organization, and we've been around since 2007. I've always kept it small because we work with a large tour operator who provides a lot of the logistics that a larger that we would need if we were larger. So we're able to keep those 2 separate and stay pretty small and nimble. And in terms of making connections with experts in other countries, our tour operator has excellent tour leaders that are native to the country. They are well trained, and we actually, as part of our contract with G-Adventures, we get their top-rated tour leaders in every single country. So you're getting the best of the best from our tour operator in terms of the tour leaders. Now, as far as experts in other countries, this is a tour. You're seeing the sites, you're learning about the history and the culture. We're having homestays on some of these as part of some of these trips, but we aren't, meeting with a scientist here or a government official there. That's more of something that a Fulbright Hays program would do. We sometimes have those, but it's typically not a part of our program. Another question that people often have for me is, who am I traveling with? Is it just people in their 20s? Our program has teachers from all age ranges. So we get lots of teachers in their 20s and 30s, but lots and lots of teachers in their 50s and 60s. We have retired teachers who travel with us, basically going up to early 70s. We have a minimum age requirement of 17 years old. So if you do want to bring along a child, they have to be over the age of 17 to travel with us, because we want this program focused on adults and adult interests. We are going to be offering family programs starting soon. Probably in the next few years, we're going to offer trips where you can bring along any child over the age of 4. And those will be specific family programs that I will probably be going on because I've got a 2-year-old, so I'm looking forward to those. Are there any other questions? This is from Govinda. Do you have any official connection to the country your groups are visiting? How do you select the school or community you want to visit? So we do this in a few different ways. In terms of official connections, if you mean by official as in government connections, we've tried to do that in the past. For example, in Morocco, we were working with the embassy here in the United States, the Moroccan embassy, and they were coordinating government visits in Morocco, and they all fell through. And it was a tremendous amount of work to get these government visits planned. We were going to meet with their Department of Education in Casablanca, and it all fell through. So I found that, and this has happened a few other times, I've just found it's a lot of work to work with the government, and often it doesn't add any value to our program. And as far as selecting schools or communities we want to visit, we work within what our tour operator runs already. So they've got a tremendous catalog of tours, and we visit the places that they go to on their tours. This makes it cheap, because when we have to create something from whole cloth, or our tour operator has to, that it adds in a lot of work. And that when you add in a lot of work, you add in costs. So we're trying to keep things as inexpensive as possible. So we follow their blueprint. We do pick schools. Often our tour operator has contacts with schools, and that's typically how we pick which schools we visit is through our tour operator. Again, I've tried to arrange those school visits from the United States, and sometimes I still do, but often they'll fall through at the last minute. Having somebody actually in the country arranging those school visits is critical. Lisa, we mentioned GeoCurriculum. So if you can see our website here, I'm going to go to, first of all, our Sharing Your Adventure on our website. This is where we show our education plan, where pre-departure you learn about the place you're going to through some of the resources that we share with you, which is a book club, a Pinterest page, which has information about each of our trips. And then during the program, we teach you about the tour leader is going to teach you about the country that you're on. And then after traveling, we give you a Google Earth presentation that you can share with your students when you get back into their classroom. And then on our website, we have a lesson plan database. So these are all lesson plans that teachers have submitted over the years, and you can read how they shared the experience with their students when they got back into their classroom. So this might serve as inspiration for you. Are there any further questions? Govinda, what time of the year the travels take place mostly? That's actually a really good question that I should have mentioned. Almost all of our programs are over the Northern Hemisphere summer. So between June and mid-August. So our earliest trips start around June 8th, or June 13th actually this year, and our latest trips get back in mid-August. We do run some spring break programs as well. We're running a Moorish Spain spring break program with the University of Texas at Austin as our partner on that. We're running a Morocco spring break with the University of Arizona as our partner on that one, and we're also running an Israel spring break. We're also running a winter break program this year to Peru. And so yeah, that answers those questions. Yeah, correct. So the summer vacation is the longest one for most educators in the Northern Hemisphere, so that's why most of our trips are over the summer. So out of our 33 programs, 28 of them or so, 29 of them are during the summer. Were there any other questions? Okay, well, I will hang around just in case anybody has any other questions. Govinda, I think, is typing something else out. But I think that concludes most of what we needed to go over.
Thank you very, very much, Jesse, for your presentation. And thanks, everybody, for participating. As I said earlier, you can find the recordings here, and do give the link to your colleagues and friends, and get as many people who've missed the conference to at least see the recordings.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maisie, for being our moderator for this. You were excellent, and I really appreciate the help. And thank you, Lucy, for putting this whole thing together. It was a pleasure to participate, and thank you, everybody, for coming to learn about GEO. If you have any questions at all and want to speak to me in more depth, I'm putting in our phone number right now, and you can call me 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week, every day of the year, and I will answer my phone. Or email me. I answer emails really quickly as well, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Once again, thank you, everybody. And if you, when you leave the room, then we'll be able to process and we'll have the recording up and available to you all. I'm going to stop the recording now.